What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions. I'm Emery Cuzzy, and I'm super excited to bring you the top fits for the AFC. The NFL draft is coming up, and I know that everybody that's here is a fanatic just like myself. Getting to that point where, we start trying to put the best players to each team based on scheme and fit and everything like that. And that's the video I'm trying to bring to you. So check it out, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and then go comment in our comment who you think might be the best player for your team. We're going to basically be doing the top 4 rounds. It's going to be one player for each team, but you can kind of get them in the top 100 players overall. So let's get into it. All right, so you should be able to see my screen now. We're going to start off with the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills player pick is Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame. That would be the second round pick, him falling to 56. The Bills also have the 62nd pick, so it's just the fact that they have to address cornerback, and it's a best player available situation because their 29th overall pick is going to be a reach, in my opinion, for a cornerback in this class. Most of our cornerbacks are after Jade, Barron, Will Johnson, and Travis Hunter. Most of our cornerbacks are much later in the 40s and 50s in this class. So you're basically hoping that the best cornerback falls to you. Benjamin Morrison is the guy that I think makes the most sense and fits really well. He's been trending downward due to the injury because we don't have any news due to his injury, but that's becoming a big discount because he was considered one of the best players coming into the year. He was possibly projected a first round talent. He could have been the 29th pick if he would have played the whole year for this Notre Dame team that did go so deep into the playoffs. So his multi-year All-American watch list ability, about 2 years in a row. He was a 2022 freshman All-American, basically one of the best players at Notre Dame since he stepped on the field his freshman year. The Buffalo Bills did re-sign Christian Benford, but they're currently down one cornerback on the other side, and I think it's one of the biggest needs. But like I said, I think it's a complete reach and risk if you do go with this in the first round. So getting this guy in the second round would be such a great value. He played high amounts of man coverage, so you have that capabilities with him, and you improve one of your worst positions from multiple years in the second round this time around with Benjamin Morrison. And then we'll go to the Miami Dolphins. It's no secret that they need to protect Tua. Tua's had multiple injuries, concussions. They don't have guards really that we're going to be just like, these are the guys we really want, because Liam Eichenberg had a 53.1 grade last year, 69th out of 77 guards. He's going to be a free agent after the 2026 year. I think replacing him would be good. And then on the other side, James Daniels signed through 2028, but he only played 4 games last season because he tore his Achilles. Torn Achilles are not easy injuries to come back from. So getting a guy like Donovan Jackson, who I think has got one of the highest floors out of everybody. I don't know that he will be here at this point. This is also one of those things where I'm like, I hope he slides if you are a Miami fan. Otherwise, you might have to go up and get him because he is climbing up boards. I've seen him in the first round of mock drafts at this point. Getting him in the second round at pick 48 would be huge value at one of the biggest positions of needs that you might even have to take a guy in the first round if you're the Dolphins to fix this spot. So getting Donovan Jackson in the second round would be such a big pick for the Miami Dolphins. And hopefully if you are a Dolphins fan, you see a guy like this fall to you, because that is such a pivotal position in your offense when you talk about a guy like Tua needing to be blocked up for. And then also his outside zone capabilities when you have Achane. I think that adding a guy like Donovan Jackson's a big, big deal for this team and would be the perfect pairing and fit for this team. The next team is the New York Jets. Mason Taylor out of LSU. And the second round at pick 42. This would basically assume that they didn't go Tyler Warren in the first round and they picked Mimbu, which is the odds-on favorite currently to get picked at right tackle. Currently, the two tight ends on the roster are Jeremy Ruckert and Stone Smart. I think that you could get a huge improvement by going with the Mason Taylor. I think Tyler Conklin leaving in free agency tells you a little bit. And also, you just got Justin Fields in. You need to add talent around him, but even more so, you need to add a safety blanket. And that's what this guy is. He's the perfect safety blanket for a guy like Justin Fields. And Taylor did make our all floor team, so he is a high floor player that has some upside, but is going to be ready to play week one. And I think that that's something you would need when you have a quarterback like Justin Fields coming in, giving him someone that can play and help him out right now. Next up, you have the New England Patriots. And this pick, I think, might get a little bit of scrutiny, but I think it's such a perfect pick in the end of the day, so that's why I went with it anyways. This is Ozzie Trapillo out of Boston College. Ozzie is basically in that third round, second and third round conversation. It would be the third round pick, the 77th. They have two third round picks, 69 and 77. Morgan Moses did get signed to a 3-year deal. I know that. But he's also 34 years old, and he's on the downside of his career. This would be your predecessor to a Morgan Moses and a guy that could help you possibly play other positions, left tackle if that needs to be addressed. He played right tackle his whole career, but you get him in the system, you start moving him. He won't be a first year guy, so you give him a chance to learn a little bit, and he'd be the predecessor to Morgan Moses. It's also a school area thing for me. Boston College obviously is near New England, and I don't know how close they are in vicinity, but they're in the same state, that's for sure. Same town, kind of thing. So that gives me a lot of hope that this would be someone that they could scout really well, and he just feels like a Patriots pick. I think that Mike Vrabel will fall in love with a guy like this, and if Morgan Moses does have issues, he can step in and be one of your guys that starts on your offensive line. He will improve that offensive line because right now that offensive line is completely in shambles. Multiple players with very low grades throughout from last year. You're going to have to probably pick 3 offensive linemen in this year's class. I think Ozzie Trapillo should be one of them. Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore is going to be picking at 27 to get Walter Nolan out of Mississippi. Talk about explosiveness, pass rush ability, positional flexibility. He has it all. And the big thing for me is when you talk about a guy like Walter Nolan, who is so high on our board, getting him at 27, where he's kind of projected, is such a steal that any of the teams in the back of the first round that need defensive line help would get a perfect grade to me. But I think when you talk about a Baltimore Ravens team, I think Walter Nolan is the perfect fit to a Baltimore Ravens. He feels like a Raven, and I've said that before about guys. Patrick Queen was one of them back in the day, and that his stylistic ability and his pass rush upside, and him next to Nnamdi Madubuike is just so much fun to me. So that's kind of partly why I did it. Plus, there's only 2 interior defensive linemen signed through the 2026 or past the 2026 season, and that's Madubuike and Washington. So you're adding depth first off in his rookie year, and then from there you're just going to get a player that will be a starter in this league for a long time, in my personal opinion. I think he has Pro Bowl upside. Going to the Baltimore Ravens, they just reload on defense like they do at every position, kind of like Philadelphia. And I think this fit makes so much sense. Next up, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I don't know that all Pittsburgh fans are going to love this pick, but Ollie Gordon, to me, being like the 1A to a Jaylen Warren, feels so right. Because he's the physical downhill runner, good enough pass blocker. The current depth chart is just a bunch of scat backs with you have Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, Cordero Patterson, and how do you play a Steelers type of offense where you want to run the ball and run downhill without somebody like this? This is like the Walmart version of a Najee Harris. Coming into the year, Ollie Gordon was the number 1 running back to a lot of people. And then he fell down because of his season, his team only winning 3 games. It's kind of justified that he didn't touch the ball that much because they had to throw it because they were down so much. And the question is, can you get a 2023 season out of Ollie Gordon, or are you going to get the 2024 season Ollie Gordon? Well, when you're taking him with the pick 83 in the 3rd round, I don't know that you're that mad when I think he's better than a lot of people at this point. I think everybody dropped him out of their top 20, and I don't understand why, when he's a guy that was the number 1 guy coming into the year. And we saw some of that upside in certain games like BYU, which was an absolute banger of a game, and we know that Ollie Gordon can get after it. So I would not count him out like some people are. And I would say that he is a very good back coming into a backfield in this situation that has only smaller backs. He would be the main goal line back. He would be worth a pick in fantasy and in best ball. So I think that Ollie Gordon is a perfect pick for a Steelers running back in this situation. And then the next guy, Kevin Winston Jr. out of Penn State. Pick 81, that's the third round pick. I don't know that he'll be there, but there are so many conflicting reports that Kevin Winston Jr. He could be a second rounder, he could be a first rounder. If he didn't get injured this year, he would be a first round pick in my personal opinion. I have him in our top 35 players. And this is pick 81 for Cincinnati, who desperately need a safety. Stone and Battle had both of them had 53.1 grades by PFF. That's 83rd out of 98 safeties last year. 4 out of 6 of the safeties on the roster are 2026 unrestricted free agents. So they'll be unrestricted free agents after next season. Dax Hill injured post week 5, so I mean adding, just in case injury, of course, is always important. And on top of that, Dax Hill hasn't been worth the first round pick that he got. Now, when you come to Winston, you're like, well, is he ready to go? Is he ready to play, week 1? Well, he just ran a 40. So I think if he's willing to run 40s, and he ran a 4.51, a legit 40, quick for a guy that's 6 months removed from an ACL tear, partial ACL tear, which is basically an ACL tear when you get reconstructed. That is such a reasonable price, in my personal opinion, if he will be playing week 1. He has 0.0 missed tackle rate. That is one of the best things about him. He did not miss a single tackle in 2023. 2023 film is absolutely incredible, and he was one of my favorite players over summer. I keep pushing him, and they just need to add some athletes. And I think that Kevin Winston gives them a legit athlete that can play anywhere on the field. And then one of the diamonds in the rough, I guess you could say, Jackson Slater out of Sacramento State going to the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland has so many issues, top to bottom. There's a reason they are the number 2 overall pick. They're going to need more. They need more draft value than they got, and they're in the top 3, I believe. At pick 104, which is in the 4th round, they will be getting a guy that is a diamond to me. All four, I believe, of their guards, Teller, Bettino, Pochik, and backup Jenkins, all are 2026 unrestricted free agents. So they can't or they won't be bringing them all back. That's just not realistic. This team needs everything, but what they really need mostly is good players at great cost. And that's what you're going to get here. You're going to get a good player at a great cost with offensive line versatility in Jackson Slater out of Sacramento State. His upside is center and guard, so that's not a problem in my opinion. He can play both. He gives you just a lot as a late round pick because he's coming out of FCS. He's not going to have the same love that some of these other guys are going to have, but I loved what I saw at the Senior Bowl. I think he gets even pushed up boards possibly. He's in our top 100, and I think this is a great pick for a team that just needs good players. And when you get a good player so late, you're going to be really happy because a lot of guards and centers are getting picked 3rd and 4th, 5th, 6th round that are actually starting in the NFL today. And then going on to the next group, it is going to be the AFC South. We have the Houston Texans, and I just feel like everybody kind of knows what the Texans' problem is. It's offensive line. Their offensive line is bottom 5, and until they fix it, which they tried to, they added a ton of players. They also got rid of a ton of players. Got rid of Laramie Tunsil because they thought he wasn't mentally the guy they needed as a leader. They got rid of some of their other guys, including Kenyon Green, who was a first-round pick bust out of Texas A&M. And then they added Laken Tomlinson, Ed Ingram, Cam Robinson, Trent Brown. But they're all on one-year deals. So they're all going to be gone after next year, and they're going to repay or re-sign whoever they think did a good enough job to stay on the team. Well, me personally, I think they need versatility on their offensive line. They put Titus Howard at guard, and he probably is best at guard, but we need a right tackle. We need a left tackle. Well, I'm giving you Marcus Bowe. Marcus Bowe out of Purdue, pick 79 in the 3rd round. This guy can play everything. He played right tackle in college for most of his career. He also played a little bit of guard, but then when he went to the Senior Bowl, they even asked him to snap. I think he can be one of the better centers in the league. I think he can play guard. I think he can do just about anything you need and you ask of him. And he improves your offensive line because you have that versatility. It just feels like the perfect pick at the end of the day when you have the versatility of a guy like Marcus Bowe going to a team that needs insane position value across the row line, guard, center, tackle, all of the positions they need to improve on. This is the way to start doing it. I think that they should take multiple offensive linemen in this draft class, including in the first round, possibly adding Bowe, getting even more than that if they have to. Like, that is kind of the thing that I think they need because they have to protect CJ Stroud. And then the next guy, Indianapolis Colts, basically Tyler Warren needs to fall to them is how I look at it. Tyler Warren out of Penn State, he'll be the 14th pick overall. The chances of him falling, I don't know if they're that good, but if he can get to 14, this is such a home run pick to me because their current, tight end room might be the worst in football. Alex Ogletree, Jelani Woods, Moa Cox, Mallory, like they just don't have a legit tight end in their offensive on their offense. So adding one in the first round who is a value to me because he's the number 5 overall player on our big board. This is almost feels like the Raiders last year when they took Brock Bowers and he fell to them all the way at 12. I think that this is something similar here. And if they do get an opportunity to get Tyler Warren, I think it improves by far the worst position to one of the better positions on their team. Or not better positions, but improves it drastically. And I've heard this. They don't use tight ends. They don't use tight ends. Well, they actually ran 74% out of 11 personnel last season. They use tight ends. They just don't have a good enough tight end that is making differences in the pass game or even possibly in the run blocking side of it. So maybe if they had a tight end good enough, they would use him. And I think Tyler Warren, if he can get to 14, it'll be a slam dunk home run pick in my personal opinion. There's very few guys on this thing we're going to talk about that are first rounders because most of them have to fall to get to this team that they're going to be, we're going to be talking about. The next guy in the Jacksonville Jaguars, similar to Tyler Warren, would have to fall. Travis Hunter out of Colorado. I think he's the perfect pick at pick 5. They need help. This kind of takes that, kills 2 birds with 1 stone offensively. I don't think Travis Hunter needs to be a number 1. And I think that might be, I think he should be a number 2 on a team. The best way for him to excel is to be a number 2 on a team and then play defense as much, defense as he's capable of. Offensively for the Jacksonville Jaguars, they released Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk. They added De'Ami Brown, who will be an unrestricted free agent after the season. It's only a 1-year deal. And then Gabe Davis is their next best receiver, who ranked 127th out of 133. I think they need to add playmakers on offense, but I also think that their secondary is terrible. If you just look, right? Tyson Campbell, 62.9. Brown, 62.3. Savage, 46.2. And then Murray, 63.8. That was their starters last year. That is their starting team. That are the grades for those guys. And they did add, and I'm happy that they did add Jordan Lewis, who is a nickel corner, could play safety. I think that's probably the best reason. The reason they brought him in is to take over Darnell Savage's spot because Darnell Savage cannot start for you. And then Jarrian Jones will have to start somewhere, which I think is nickel. So adding Travis Hunter, you get a cornerback that will play 90% of the time. And I think you get an offensive guy that goes in for 40% of the time and then increases throughout his career. But you get Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter on the same team. It is an absolute check mark. You're going to be a problem offensively. Defensively, you also get one of the best corners in this class, and you improve your defense. So I think this would be the home run pick if Jacksonville can do it. Obviously, Travis Hunter is favored to go long before this, but somehow I could see it happening. Say we got a situation where Cam Ward goes first, you get Abdul Carter to 2, you get a quarterback at 3, and the Patriots are like, we need offensive line because we're so bad at it, and you get Travis Hunter following you. If that happens, I think it's the best pick for any team by far, and Jacksonville gets Travis Hunter. The next guy is Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, going to the Tennessee Titans at pick 35. Emeka has been falling out of the first round consistently in what I've been watching. Now, I don't know that I think that's fair because we do have him in the top 30 of our big board, but we're gonna assume that Cam Ward goes number one overall because he's minus 20,000 to go number one overall to the Tennessee Titans currently. So he's most like that is those odds say that he's going there. Emeka Egbuka is one of the most reliable wide receivers and pro-ready, safe wide receivers coming out of this draft class. You get a guy in Cam Ward, and you're like, hey, we're going to the NFL. I need someone that I can trust. And this is the guy you can trust. He's a good blocker, route runner. He's probably not a number one. He's probably just a high-end number two, probably the highest in number two I've seen come out recently. And he starts right away for this team. Their starting wide receivers right now are Calvin Ridley, fine. Treylon Burks, who has been terrible after the whole AJ Brown situation, and then Van Jefferson, who's just been a journeyman. Let's get a guy like Emeka Egbuka there, and let's really connect Cam Ward and Emeka Egbuka. I think that tandem would be such a perfect pairing, in my personal opinion. And then we're going to go to the AFC West. We're going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs to start it off. Kansas City, most people would probably put tackle, talking about, perfect fits and stuff. I don't know that there's a tackle that I think that perfectly fits where they're picking and how all the situations just falling into place. There is a guy in Alfred Collins out of Texas who I think is a perfect pick to pair with Chris Jones. Alfred Collins, this would be pick 66 or 63. They have two of them. One's in the second round, at the end of the second round. One's in the third, right at the beginning. This would be your twin towers because Chris Jones is 6'6", 310. Alfred Collins is 6'6", 332. There would be no running. You could not run the ball on this team. Collins is one of the best run stoppers in this class, period. There's probably three guys that you just hang your hat on, good run stopping, and he's in that group. Collins is also, every defensive tackle on this roster is a 2026 unrestricted free agent, except for Chris Jones. They've lost defensive tackles this year. Just think about the game-changing ability you have on first and second down between Jones and Collins. I think it's such a cool pairing. Maybe it's not the perfect pairing, like when you just go about it, because Collins doesn't have like upside as a pass rusher. But at the same time, first and second down, this is the best pairing I think I can come across for this team. Like, you are not going to be able to run the ball. You're not going to be able to do anything except for, get absolutely just mauled by these two guys. And then on third down, you're going to probably take him off the field and let someone else go in there. But at that point, it's 3rd and 13 or 3rd and 9, and you're behind the sticks. So I think the Kansas City Chiefs getting Alfred Collins would be such a cool pairing. And it's one of my favorites on all these boards. And it's probably not talked about because Alfred Collins is a little bit lower on most people's boards than our own. The next guy is next team is the Los Angeles Chargers. Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to say that Kenneth Grant falls to his ex-head coach in Jim Harbaugh, and they ride off into the sunset. And, this would be a pick 22 thing. Match made in heaven is kind of how I look at it. Poona Ford did leave. This would be the replacement for Poona Ford because they need some sort of run stopping. Poona Ford was 5th graded out of all defensive linemen last year, so it's it's a really big hit losing him. Well, Kenneth Grant would just be the replacement, and Coach Harbaugh has said that this is possibly the highest ceiling of all of the players that were on Michigan from the national championship team. That includes Mason Graham. That includes Will Johnson. That includes Junior Colson. All of them. This guy has the upside to be the best one of all of them. And that is some insanely high praise for a player that, at the end of the day, he's super young and has just an insane ceiling. So I like this pick. I like this pairing, but I think out of all the Michigan players to go to the Chargers, because a lot of people are putting Michigan players at the Chargers, Kenneth Grant is the perfect just combination of everything to go there. And then the last two here, we have the Denver Broncos. I think the Denver Broncos are one of the hardest teams to pick here. They don't have holes. They have players at every position that are signed pretty well through, a few years, and they have guys that have done really well. Like basically, we came into the 2023 season thinking that the team was not as good as it was, and then when they played football on the field, they were like, no, no, our young edges are good. Jonathan Cooper, a seventh rounder, is good. Nick Benito is going to almost, do the things he did on the sack total. Josie Jewell, I mean, all of them. Sorry, Cody Barton, not Josie Jewell. Pat Surtain, Defensive Player of the Year. So they are stacked everywhere you look, offensively, defensively. Good O-line. Bo Nix was a great pickup. They need a running back, but this is a much later pick, obviously, that we're about to talk about. So my favorite pick for them is Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State, pick 85 in the third round. They don't have a lot of holes, but Jacob Parrish is a versatile type of player. He's played both outside corner and nickel. He played more outside corner this year than nickel, but he's a smaller guy, so he fits the nickel way better in my opinion. I think he's the best nickel in this class. Jaquan McMillan is the starting nickel currently. He is a 2026 unrestricted free agent. So if he walks, you have Jacob Parrish slotted in. And then also Riley Moss had a 57.8 grade. We wish we would have saw that, come up a little bit, but I think Riley Moss is good. I think he'll be there and be a solid player for them. So adding another defensive back to this team is my favorite way to go, especially in the third round. Parrish is 21.4 years old, and he ran a 4.35 40. Just, things to think about. Guys that are really good at football that also have high athleticism and can play a position of need. This is the kind of guy you want. Denver would get a very big double check mark from us if this were to happen. And then in the Raiders are next up. It's Quinshon Judkins. This would assume that they weren't taking Ashton Jeanty at 6, which I don't believe they should, because I don't think that they are ready to maximize a young, incredible running back. They have other needs that they need to fix before they can get a guy like Ashton Jeanty. Quinshon Judkins, another guy like we talked about with Ollie Gordon, fell a little bit. But also you just have to remember there's such a great class that there were just other guys that outshined them because of they have also got amazing ability. Quinshon Judkins, this is a running back that has 3 down upside, and right now the Raiders need running backs. Their current running backs are Mostert, McCormick, White, and Dylan Lobb. And I don't think any of those running backs are serious. So I think we're gonna draft a running back in this class. I know that. I don't know who it is. But if I had to pick one, Quinshon Judkins in the third round, if you can get that at 68, would be my preferred. I think the upside, the fit is, it might be one of the best fits just because of the 3 down nature of the player, the pass catching upside, just all the things added together that really make me like Quinshon Judkins. If you were asking me last year, I don't think he would be here, but there's opportunities now because there's talks about, Quinshon Judkins being the 7th running back off the board. And at 68, I think that would be a perfect place for us to get him, basically. And I'm a Raiders fan, if y'all hadn't realized. But this is I really enjoy doing this. Let me stop sharing. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me real quick and doing a short video, about 30 minutes long. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. Let me know who y'all's favorite guys are for your teams. This is the AFC portion. The NFC portion will be coming out this Saturday. So you'll see that one. So I appreciate you hanging out with me, and go subscribe to this video. Like I said, comment, tell me what you think I did right, did wrong, and I appreciate you hanging out with me.